This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, March 13th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Another round of budget brinksmanship on Capitol Hill.
Republicans chose a partisan path.
In Doge we trust.
I'm Rich Johnson.
President Trump has boosted tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports to 25%. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
A Palestinian activist stays in ICE custody. His deportation hearing moved. We'll have details.
A Texas congressman doubling down on comments directed toward a transgender colleague. I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, markets are coming off a mixed day for stocks, better than the plunge at the start of the week. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A record 5-month deficit and more Hurricane Helene aid to reach the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. All ahead on America in the Morning. The Senate's Democratic leader is calling on Republicans to negotiate a new budget bill rather than force Senate passage of the measure the House passed on Tuesday, and the clock is ticking on whether it can pass in its present form. The latest from Correspondent Rich Johnson.
Usually, a continuing resolution funds government operations at the same levels as the previous fiscal year. That's what's called a clean CR. Not this time.
We were told this was a clean CR. It's not a clean CR. It's basically a dirty deal.
Delaware Democrat Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester's condemnation is exactly why California Republican Mike McClintock voted yes.
It gives us the time to finish the work that Doge has started and gives the president added flexibility in managing the nation's resources.
Or as McClintock said Wednesday on C-SPAN,
4 words, in Doge we trust.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer of New York puts it another way.
Republicans chose a partisan path, drafting their continuing resolution without any input from congressional Democrats.
While Schumer told colleagues on the Senate floor that Democrats are united in opposing the House CR, Pennsylvania's John Fetterman is not so sure that this fight is worth it.
That's a CR that I know there's not one single Democrat, including myself, that agree with all these elements as well now, too. So make that choice. You're going to shut the government down or no, and I'm not going to do that.
While Fetterman may defect, so could Kentucky Republican Rand Paul. He says he'll vote no on the House spending plan, and he wants senators to consider an amendment that would cut foreign aid grants, something the White House is already doing. Paul believes that about half of Senate Republicans oppose foreign aid cuts, and a vote would put them on record. But any amendment in the Senate would send the bill back to the House, which is not in session until a week from Monday, and the current continuing resolution expires tomorrow night. I'm Rich Johnson.
President Trump ramping up tariffs on U.S. allies, including Japan, and those in Europe who are calling it a trade war. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani has the latest.
President Trump has boosted tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports to 25%, openly challenging U.S. allies.
Will you respond to their retaliation?
Of course I'm going to respond.
You will retaliate.
The problem is our country didn't respond. Look, the EU was set up in order to take advantage of the United States.
Including Ireland? Is Ireland taking advantage of the U.S.?
Of course they are. I can't, I have great respect for Ireland and what they did. And they should have done just what they did. But the United States shouldn't have let it happen. We had stupid leaders. We had leaders that didn't have a clue.
The president's moves are part of a bigger effort to both disrupt and transform global commerce.
The United States of America is going to take back a lot of what was stolen from it by other countries.
He's also planning reciprocal tariffs next month on Brazil, South Korea, and the European Union, which announced its own countermeasures aimed partly at goods like beef and wood products from Republican states.
The countermeasures we take today are strong but proportionate. As the United States are applying tariffs worth $28 billion, we are responding with countermeasures worth 26 billion euros.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says the trade war is regrettable.
Tariffs are taxes. They are bad for business and worse for consumers.
Canada's blasting the tariffs on what finance chief Dominic LeBlanc calls its iconic steel and aluminum industries and says it will boost import taxes on everything from U.S. computers to sporting goods.
We will use every tool at our disposal to defend Canadian jobs and Canadian businesses and support workers.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
When we return on America in the Morning, dust up over transgender congressman after these messages. This is America in the Morning. There'll be showers and rain in areas of the West today. With the forecast, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
This Thursday does bring the continuation of a rather busy weather event in the West, and today even means the height of the storm for some areas, such as Southern California, where additional rainfall of a couple of tenths of an inch to perhaps nearly an inch can be expected for cities such as Los Angeles and even San Diego through the day. Storm total rain of 1 to 2 inches. This comes as a fairly strong disturbance brings a significant round of atmospheric energy to the western United States, and this storm will be vigorous enough to even bring the chance for some thunder showers from the Central Valley southward into coastal Southern California, with that thunder most likely by the afternoon hours. Thunder is also expected within some of the steadier rain from Arizona into north-central Utah, including around Salt Lake City, with snow from Nevada into southwestern Idaho, and plenty of rain showers along the coast from central California straight northward through the Pacific Northwest. There can also be some snow for the Washington and Oregon Cascades, the northern Rockies, and eastern Oregon, still perhaps heavy for a time through the Sierra Nevada, where snow total should reach 2 to 4 feet above 5,000 feet of elevation. East of there, areas from the southern high plains into the central and southern plains continue to sit under early season warmth. Highs again reach the 70s in many places, with 80s again most prevalent over South Texas after cities such as Laredo, Texas, reached 100 degrees for the first time this year, setting a daily record high in the process. Showers and some thunderstorms will also dot the landscape from Mississippi to western Georgia and into the Ohio Valley, with the remainder of the eastern states facing a rather dry Thursday overall. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil remains in a Louisiana jail, facing a hearing now scheduled for later this month, where a judge will decide whether his student visa will be revoked and face deportation from the United States. Following the case, Correspondent Julie Walker.
Former Columbia University grad student Mahmoud Khalil will be in ICE custody at least into next week as the Trump administration tries to deport the green card holder over pro-Palestinian campus protests. Khalil's lawyer, Bahir Azmi.
The government has basically admitted that they're punishing him for his views that are contrary to the government's views. And that's just an obvious piece of authoritarian logic that we cannot tolerate as long as we live in a democracy. It's totally unacceptable for him and for others.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio at an unrelated event.
This is not about free speech. This is about people that don't have a right to be in the United States.
Khalil was moved to federal detention in Louisiana. Still, hundreds of supporters were both outside and inside court in Manhattan, including actor Susan Sarandon. Julie Walker, New York.
A congressman from Texas is defending his introduction of a transgender member of Congress after facing backlash from his Democrat colleagues. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
A Congressman Keith Self making clear that the policy of the United States is to recognize two sexes, male and female. That statement he made on social media, referencing President Trump's executive order that says the U.S. would only recognize the sex assigned to people at birth. The issue came up after Self introduced Delaware transgender Representative Sarah McBride during a committee meeting.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
The introduction was stopped down by Congressman William Keating, who became increasingly frustrated with Self, who doubled down.
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
McBride took to social media to say, quote, "No matter how I'm treated by some colleagues, nothing diminishes my awe and gratitude at getting to represent Delaware in Congress." I'm Clayton Neville.
A check of markets next, and retaliatory tariffs hit Wall Street investors. And America in the Morning continues after these messages. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. A bit of recovery on Wall Street yesterday. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a mixed and volatile day for stocks. Inflation came in cooler than expected, but both Europe and Canada placed retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. The Dow fell 80 points. The S&P was up 27. The Nasdaq popped up 200 points as investors scooped up tech shares on sale. Investors are saying, though, it was not a rebound day yesterday.
This is not much of a bounce at all.
No, we were saying it midday as well. So if you were on kind of team by the oversold dip, it's not a loss today, but it definitely does not feel as if you've done racked up a lot of the points.
CNBC's Mike Santoli and Scott Wapner. NVIDIA shares, though, popped up 7% after a slide over several weeks. They're down 14% for the year. Tesla shares popped up 7.5% yesterday, but they're down almost 40% for the year. Inflation came in cooler than expected last month. The new CPI report, the Consumer Price Index for February, is out, and inflation ticked lower after 4 straight months of going higher.
February read, Consumer Price Index expected up 0.3, comes in a tenth light, up 0.2%. Up 0.2 equals where we were in October. To find a lower number, you're back to July of last year.
CNBC's Rick Santelli, and here's CNBC's senior economics reporter Steve Leisman.
Yeah, there was a concern we would come in on the high side. Everybody said they were looking for upside surprise, so it's really good to come in below here. You got some help from food, up just 0.2. Meat, poultry, fish, and eggs up 1.6% after 1.9 the month before. Dairy products were down. Energy was well behaved. You got a decline in airline fares, down 4%. We don't know if that's a demand thing or that's just an energy thing being passed through.
Oil prices have been lower. In fact, crude fell to its lowest in nearly 4 years recently, below $66 a barrel before popping to $67 yesterday. The soft price isn't because the U.S. is drilling more and we have a lot of supply. Analysts say it's because people are scared of a slowing economy.
The main reason why prices are down is concerns about the global economy, obviously everything that's going on with tariffs, what that does for global growth. Drill, baby, drill is purely rhetoric. It hasn't led to any increase in U.S. production. We actually don't think it's going to lead to any increase in production. So this is really about global growth concerns rather than supplies.
Energy Aspects, Amrita Sen on CNBC. On today's watch list, we get the latest on inflation at the wholesale level, the PPI, Producer Price Index. Earnings are coming from Dollar General, DocuSign, and Ulta Beauty. We find out how many people applied for unemployment benefits last week. And Major League Baseball starts its second annual spring breakout tournament.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, after months of waiting, relief for Hurricane Helene victims after these messages. This is America in the Morning. As Congress debates a new budget, the nation's deficit is soaring. The Treasury Department reported that the gap between federal revenue and government spending widened to more than $1 trillion in the first 5 months of the fiscal year, driven by spending on interest, military programs, public benefits, and security. The biggest increase in spending comes from interest paid on the public debt, which rose by 10% in the current fiscal year. Reduction in spending attributed to DOGE could begin to show as early as next month. The federal government's debt now stands at $36.5 trillion and growing. Shifting gears, the White House says more Hurricane Helene aid should start to flow later this month. Lisa Dwyer has details.
U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins has pledged to start paying out tens of billions of dollars in aid to victims of Hurricane Helene later this month. Farmers say they need that aid as soon as possible to repay debts from last year for loans for seed, fertilizer, and other materials. Farmers need to pay off that debt so they can borrow money for this year's crops. Congress set a deadline of March 21st to hand out the money when it passed a $100 billion disaster relief package in December. The late September storm cut a path from Florida into North Carolina, causing billions in damages to farmers alone. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Thursday, March 13th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The U.S. is again delivering weapons to Ukraine.
It's up to Russia now.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Historic rollbacks for the Environmental Protection Agency. I'm Clayton Neville.
The center-right Democratic Party is the upset winner in Greenland's parliamentary elections. I'm Ed Donahue.
Harvey Weinstein's Me Too retrial will largely be an abridged version of the original. Julie Walker, New York.
Prominent Ivy League schools have implemented hiring freezes. I'm Sue Aller.
The explanation behind the scrubbed SpaceX launch.
Ben Affleck dished out some very traditional parenting advice this week. I'm Kevin Carr.
We're back after these messages. Back now on America in the Morning. The wet weather pattern continues in the west. It'll be dry in the east. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Most residents from the Great Lakes and the Northeast through the eastern seaboard, as well as the plains and even the Midwest for that matter, do have a dry Thursday in their future. High temperatures will keep a rather mild feel in the air for many, with highs simply backing off a few degrees from Wednesday's highs in places such as Baltimore. However, a fairly weak disturbance centered over the south will continue to lose organization as it tracks across parts of the region, bringing some showers and thunderstorms to areas from Mississippi and Tennessee northward to southern Indiana and far southwestern Ohio by later today, and as far to the east as Georgia and perhaps even southwestern West Virginia. There may be a stripe of some snow showers, perhaps mixed with rain, that can develop right along the Canadian border with Minnesota, but the latest signs are pointing toward that activity staying over Canada as a boundary lifts northward through the area. Otherwise, the main event for snow today will continue to be over the Sierra Nevada mountains of California, where snow is expected to remain heavy at times through at least the morning hours, on the way to 2 to 4 feet of storm total snow since yesterday at the highest peaks above 5,000 feet, bringing road closures and whiteout conditions at times as very gusty winds continue. The wet side of the storm will take some of the steadiest rain into areas from parts of interior Southern California to western Arizona, with numerous showers through the length of the west coast as well. Showers and thunderstorms are expected in cities such as Phoenix and Tucson, with snow from eastern Oregon into Nevada and the northern Rockies, and rain showers even possibly making it to western Colorado and New Mexico by day's end. In Boise, it's a cloudy and chillier Thursday in store with some rain around and a high of 50. For Richmond, Virginia, expect a nice day with sunshine, some clouds, and a high of 68. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Military aid flowing again to Kyiv after Ukraine agreed to U.S.-backed peace proposals, including a 30-day ceasefire. This as a delegation from the Trump administration will travel to Moscow before the end of the week. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the U.S. is awaiting Russia's answer to a ceasefire proposal, as President Trump is warning he could target Russia financially if they don't comply.
I'll talk to Vladimir Putin, yeah. I want to get, look, that's the other, it takes two to tango, as they say, right? So hopefully he'll also agree, and I really think that would be 75% of the way. The rest is getting it documented and, you know, negotiating land positions, etc.
So you'll talk to him this week about the deal?
So, yeah.
The U.S. is again delivering weapons to Ukraine as the Trump administration waits for Russia's response to a ceasefire deal Kyiv endorses.
We haven't spoken to him yet with substance because we just found out and we just were able to get Ukraine to agree. So we're going to know very soon. I've gotten some positive messages, but a positive message means nothing. It's up to Russia now.
President Trump says he hopes Moscow signs off on a proposal that could lead to the war ending.
We've gotten half of it as a ceasefire, and if we can get Russia to stop, then we have a full ceasefire, and I think it'll never go back to war.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio would like to see Russia stop its attacks on Ukraine in coming days.
If they say no, it'll tell us a lot about what their goals are and what their mindset is. But I don't want to go into that before they've even answered us by issuing statements that are abrasive in any way.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov says it's important not to get ahead of things, and Russia needs more detailed information from the U.S. before making any decision. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky is also waiting for Moscow's answer, saying a 30-day ceasefire would allow both sides to work out a step-by-step plan for ending the war. A Trump envoy is expected to travel this week to Moscow, where he could meet with Putin.
Here's what we'd like the world to look like in a few days. Neither side is shooting at each other. Not rockets, not missiles, not bullets, nothing, not artillery. The shooting stops, the fighting stops, and the talking starts.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The Environmental Protection Agency is rolling back dozens of regulations, which, according to the agency's director, puts a dagger through the heart of climate change. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
President Trump rolling back Biden administration policies as he promised on the campaign trail and since taking office in January.
America is back.
EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin says that previous regulation has throttled oil and gas production and unfairly targeted coal-fired power plants.
The Environmental Protection Agency is initiating 31 historic actions to fulfill President Trump's promise to unleash American energy, revitalize our auto industry, restore the rule of law, and give power back to the states.
Zeldin says the deregulation marks the death of the Green New Scam, as he put it. He says under the Trump administration, businesses can thrive and infrastructure can be built.
EPA will be reconsidering many suffocating rules that restrict nearly every sector of our economy and cost Americans trillions of dollars.
Some of the rollbacks include
the Biden administration's deeply flawed Clean Power Plan 2.0, mercury and air toxic standards, Quad-O BC, particulate matter 2.5, light, medium, and heavy car and truck rules, NESHAPs, and the so-called social cost of carbon.
Environmental groups are expected to push back on the regulation, but can't do that just yet. First, the EPA moves will have to become official through a rulemaking process that could take months. I'm Clayton Neville.
In an election dominated by thoughts of independence from Denmark and President Trump's desire to add the nation to the United States, the people of Greenland have spoken. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports the votes are in, and the nation of just 56,000 people, despite divisions, have decided on a slower approach.
Donald Trump, she got the military, she got the food, she got everything. I think she's thinking about it, Greenland. We need help. We need help.
If we were to become a part of the USA, a lot of our living resources would shorten, and we wouldn't get as much money that we're getting from our fishing. We might get a lot of inflation doing so. And then he might add a lot of taxes here, which would also increase the homelessness here.
The center-right Democratic Party is the upset winner in Greenland's parliamentary elections. Democrat Tit, or the Democrats, and the second-place finisher, Nalaraq, or Point of Orientation, are in favor of Greenland's independence from Denmark. But Democrat Tit favors a slower pace. Added to the mix, President Trump's push for Greenland to join the U.S.
We're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Sheila Geisler Christensen wants independence.
I gotta vote for those who back us up in Greenland as Inuit, and we don't want to be Americans. I don't want to be American, nor Danish. I'm Inuit.
Kuno Fenker with the Nalaraq Party says President Trump respects Greenland's right to self-determination.
He wants to invest in Greenland. He's absolutely welcome to do that.
Democratic Party leader Jens Fredrik Nielsen says Greenland needs to stand together in a time of great interest from outside. I'm Ed Donahue.
Harvey Weinstein back in court. U.S. colleges fear losing federal funding. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. The mayor of Wisconsin's capital city said that she's placed the municipal clerk on leave as investigators work to determine how she failed to count nearly 200 absentee ballots from the November election. Madison, Wisconsin's mayor suspended city clerk Maribeth Witzel-Bell to maintain public confidence in the clerk's office. The uncounted ballots purportedly did not change the results of any races, but 4 Madison voters whose ballots weren't counted filed claims against the city and county, the first step toward initiating a lawsuit. Disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein appeared in a New York court as a judge weighs key rulings for his looming #MeToo retrial. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Harvey Weinstein's Me Too retrial next month will largely be an abridged version of the original, with one big addition, a charge based on an allegation from a woman who wasn't part of the first case. New York's Court of Appeals threw out Weinstein's conviction last year, setting the stage for a retrial starting April 15th in state court in Manhattan. Prosecutors say it could take about 5 weeks.
What a difference 5 years makes. We're in front of a judge now who's very thoughtful. His law secretary as well. They're very thorough, thoughtful, precise, and they're clearly looking to make sure that all of Mr. Weinstein's constitutional rights are protected and preserved.
How that retrial plays out began to take shape Wednesday as the judge ruled on a number of outstanding issues, including the prosecution's request to call a psychologist as an expert witness who testified for actor Amber Heard at Johnny Depp's libel trial and was a prosecution witness in R. Kelly's federal sex trafficking trial.
We had a very good day today. It was a good day for Mr. Weinstein. You know, Mr. Weinstein consistently has said this is a case about consent. He's never saying that this never happened. I don't know these people. This is a case about consent.
Julie Walker, New York.
A number of colleges and universities, including Harvard, Penn, the University of Pittsburgh, and North Carolina State, have all implemented hiring and spending freezes with concerns of losing federal funding hanging in the balance. Correspondent Sue Aller reports.
Financial uncertainties. That's what several Ivy League schools are facing, including Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania. Harvard has announced a hiring freeze driven by the Trump administration's policies. Columbia University has already lost $400 million in federal funding due to allegations of anti-Semitism and how the school handled pro-Palestinian protests. On Monday, the U.S. Department of Education sent letters to 60 colleges and universities warning that they could lose federal funding if they fail to ensure the safety of Jewish students on campus, emphasizing the importance of adhering to Title IX of the Civil Rights Act. According to Harvard, in 2024, the university received $686 million in federal funding. Federal funding at Ivy League schools is primarily used for research and development, financial aid, and various academic programs. Other prominent universities such as Stanford and MIT have also implemented hiring freezes due to similar concerns. I'm Sue Aller.
The largest music streaming platform, Spotify, just announced handing out over $10 billion in royalty payments to music producers. Tech reporter Chuck Palm answers the question, is it enough?
Spotify said on Wednesday they paid out $10 billion in royalties in 2024. This marks the largest payout to the music industry in any given year. This is a 10x increase in payouts since 2014, when Spotify paid $1 billion in royalties to their artists. In fact, last year, nearly 1,500 artists earned over $1 million each from the music streaming giant. This comes after dodging a major lawsuit last year, where the company was accused of underpaying songwriting royalties for tens of millions of songs. Spotify was sued in New York federal court, where information from the royalty-gathering nonprofit Mechanical Licensing Collective said that they underreported its revenue by nearly half in order to avoid paying millions of dollars that it owed to the group. The complaint cited a Billboard report that estimated Spotify's move could have cost songwriters nearly $150 million over the next year. U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres rejected the complaint and killed the lawsuit. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
America in the Morning's Robert Workman has Thursday sports.
NBA last night, the Thunder stopped the Celtics 118-112, becoming the first team in the West to secure a playoff spot this season, and doing it on the floor of the defending NBA champions. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a game-high 34 points.
They've, like I said, achieved what we're trying to accomplish, and there's no better test in the NBA. Like, you play for late June, and they're the team that won late June, so playing against them is always fun, always a really big challenge.
Elsewhere, Mikal Bridges hit a last-second three-ball to boost the Knicks over the Blazers 114-113 in overtime. He had a game-high 33 points. Timberwolves trampled the Nuggets. Grizzlies bopped the Jazz. Rockets over the Suns. Clippers sailed past the Heat. Hawks got 35 from Trae Young as they handled the Hornets. Raptors ripped the Sixers, and the Spurs spanked the Mavericks. College basketball, 3 more automatic bids to the NCAA tournament secured last night. American University in the Patriot League and McNeese in the Southland Conference both won their tournaments after winning their regular season titles. And Montana took the Big Sky late last night. 17 more automatic bids will be awarded this weekend, along with 37 at-large teams, and all will be revealed on Selection Sunday. NHL, the Kraken erased a 2-goal deficit midway through the third and beat the Canadiens 5-4 in overtime. Brandon Montour's second goal of the night came 4 seconds into OT. Red Wings blunted the Sabres 7-3. Patrick Kane, 2 goals and 3 assists. Utah downed the Ducks 3-2, and the Canucks doused the Flames 4-3 in a shootout. That's Thursday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. When we return on America in the Morning, update on those astronauts stuck in space and marching for all the right reasons in New York City. That and more after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. 4 astronauts will have to wait at least one more day to travel to the International Space Station. SpaceX has scrubbed the launch of their Crew 10 flight for NASA to the ISS after an issue with the ground system led to a postponement. The SpaceX flight was supposed to allow for astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore to come home. The pair arrived at the space station in June for what was supposed to be a short stay, but their Boeing Starliner ship malfunctioned, and they've been stranded in space now for nearly 9 months. SpaceX is hoping for a launch later today or Friday. Shifting gears, he may be worth millions, but actor and director Ben Affleck flexed his parent muscles regarding his son and the value of money. Kevin Carr explains.
He may date beautiful actresses, models, and pop stars, but sometimes Ben Affleck reminds the world that he can also be a relatable parent. And this happened this week at the Got Soul sneaker convention when Affleck was caught on the con's Instagram with his son Samuel looking at Dior Air Jordan 1s.
The reason like those because they're expensive. You don't even know why they're there.
No, they're tough. I've always said they look good.
When they were told the hefty $6,000 price tag, Affleck had a very traditional response as a father.
That's a lot of lawns you got to mow there.
Affleck, who directed the film Air last year about the creation of the Air Jordans, did not grow up against the backdrop of wealth and celebrity. So he has long-standing experience having to work in order to buy what he wants. Later at the South by Southwest Film Festival this week, promoting his upcoming action film The Accountant 2, Access Hollywood caught him on the red carpet with a follow-up report on the sneaker issue.
Did your son start mowing the lawn for those sneakers?
That's what happens. You tell they have to mow a lawn. All of a sudden, they don't want those shoes. And we're like, all right. He was like, but I always said they were tough.
The 52-year-old actor and director went on to explain his views on the family's wealth.
There's always some grift why I need to be. I'm like, man, well, you do not need $1,000 shoes. He's like, we have the money. I'm like, I have the money. You're broke.
Here's at least one child of celebrities who might learn the value of hard work. I'm Kevin Carr.
Marching bands are gathering in New York City ahead of a big college basketball tournament showcasing their skills outside the arena. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
It's the Battle of the Bands.
Big East tournament here in New York City this week for men's basketball. Put together a series of promotional events, and the Battle of the Bands at the Vessel was one of those.
Elizabeth Sokolowski is the director of bands at Villanova University. She says the Vessel at Hudson Yards in New York City is hosting a Battle of the Bands. It features marching bands from St. John's, Seton Hall, Villanova, and Marquette. The bands performed across the structure's staircases and platforms with the city and Hudson River in the background.
So our students are the ones who choose the music as we're performing. They're listening to what the other bands are playing. And then they're deciding, oh, let's do this one next.
The event marked the start of the 2025 Big East men's basketball tournament. I'm Haya Panjwani.
America in the Morning for Thursday, March 13th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.